And let's welcome Ollis.
Thank you, Kat. How y'all doing this morning? Oh, okay, it's on. How's everybody doing this morning? This morning, first I bring greetings from Almina, who's serving at New Song, and so I had to take drive myself. But thank God it was a dry drive. I was worried I was gonna have to drive in the rain up here, but sunshine from Oceanside, up 76, up 15, up 79. Good day, good day. Good day, full of week full of memories. This being Veterans Day was this week. You know, Veterans Day is a good time for persons who served in the armed forces or who were married to someone in the armed forces, somehow connected with it. Just think about some of the experiences and things that they liked about it or they hated about it, but that has impacted their lives. And one thing that I thought about was, you know, one of the benefits of being in the military I heard was liberty ports. You know, that's when you're on the ship and you sail out in the sea for a long period of time, but you go down and visit these different countries. And there's all these things you could do in these different countries. Like you could buy stuff, you see stuff, you sight so you're tourists. And I had a desire as a young chaplain, I wanted to have a tailor-made suit. So I was on the USS Carl Vinson aircraft carrier, CVN 70, and we sailed out of Alameda under the Bay Bridge, under the Golden Gate Bridge, out into the Pacific, sailed across, hit Hawaii for a few days, went back out to sea again, got to Yakuza, Japan, went back out to sea again, and we got to Hong Kong. And in Hong Kong, I got my first tailor-made suit. I mean, I got a chance to select the fabric, a wool blend. It was black. It was a three-piece. I set the style, and, and and he measured my neck and my shoulders and my arms and my waist and my hips, and it's like it fit me. A lot of times in life, we like to have something that's made for us. The wonderful thing is that we have a God who tailor makes our salvation, who tailor makes our relationship. It's for us. He knows our needs. And two passages of scripture I want to look at today. One's from Mark. They're both from Mark. Mark 8:23 says he took the blind man by the hand and led him outside the village. When he had spit on the man's eyes and put his hands on him, Jesus asked, "Do you see anything?" That's Mark 8:23. Then in Mark 10, Jesus with another blind man. And Jesus said to him, "What do you want me to do for you?" And the blind man said to him, "Rabbi, let me recover my sight." People often desire and pursue something unique that fits their needs, their abilities, their interests. And God always responds to our human need in a very special, personalized way. So here's the main thing. By reflecting upon Jesus' response to two different blind men, we will lift up some principles that show how each relationship with Jesus is tailor made. Let's think about it. God's relationship with you is designed for you. A lot of people will see it and want what you have, but what God has for you is for you, and what He has for other people for other people. It's different. It's special. It's unique. It's tailor made. But let's listen to those stories. What's just the stories that goes with those verses? Well, the story from the 8th chapter of Mark is when Jesus went to Bethsaida. He got to Bethsaida, and people brought a blind man with him for Jesus to touch. Begged Jesus to touch him. But Jesus took the hand of that blind man, walked him outside the village, and he had spit on his eyes and put his hands on him and said, "What do you see?" The man looked and said, "I see people. They look like trees walking around." So Jesus laid his hands on him again, and his eyes were opened, his sight restored, and he could see everything clearly. And Jesus said, "Go home. But don't even stop in the village." And that's one story of one blind man and what Jesus did. Then in the 10th chapter of Mark, there's another story when Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem and he gets to the city of Jericho. He spends time in Jericho. Then as he comes out of Jericho with his disciples in a large crowd, there's Bartimaeus, a blind beggar. He was the son of Timaeus, sitting beside the road. And when Bartimaeus heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he shouted, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." But the people rebuked him, told him to be quiet. And he all the more shouted, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stopped. He said, "Tell him to come." So the people said to him, "Cheer up! Get on your feet! He's calling you." The man threw off his cloak and he ran towards Jesus and fell at his knees, on his knees. And Jesus said, "What do you want? What can I do for you?" And the man said, "Lord, I want to see." And Jesus said, "Your faith has healed you." And that man followed Jesus around for a while, giving praise and testimony to what had happened. Now, these two stories, and for some reason my tablet's stuck and won't move. So, what are some of the lessons that Jesus is going to teach us in this story? And the first thing we see is Jesus will do what he came to do. Jesus knew what his purpose was. He knew what he was supposed to do. He knew how he was supposed to behave. He knew how he was supposed to fulfill. In Isaiah, the 35th chapter, Isaiah describes some of the things that this Messiah will do when he comes. He said he will open the eyes, unstop the ears, loosen the tongue so that the mute will shout, the lame shall leap. And that's exactly what doing. If you follow along, Mark shows Jesus going from place to place, healing, delivering, casting out demons, doing what he came to do. And Jesus said at one point, he said, "I have come I have come to seek and to save the lost. And that's exactly what he did in all the places, but he did it differently. He did it for the different people. Let me see. I'm going. I don't know why this thing is acting up today. Mm, Okay, I don't know what Jesus is doing. Jesus tells me just go ahead. Yeah, I have extra notes on my notes. One thing that Jesus does, thank you, Kat, is that he actively is looking for people to save, to heal, to forgive, to love, to lift up, to renew, to resurrect. And that's exactly what we see right here. That people are there. They're expecting healing, and he's doing it. But he's doing it in very different ways. He listens with compassion to the people who are calling for help, but he also listens. And this is a good thing. And this is where all of us are part of this process. He also listens to those of us who pray and intercede and advocate on the behalf of others. In one story, in the Bethsaida story, it says that these people brought a blind man with them, and they begged Jesus to touch them. Now, they clearly thought that Jesus would heal a blind person by touching. But what Jesus did was respond to the need of the friends, which he did more than once. You probably remember the story of the guys who brought their friend and went through the roof and lowered him down. We can always be those people who are interceding and advocating and pushing for people to come see Jesus and for Jesus to touch their lives and just enter their lives. Jesus is always actively looking for, with compassion, persons who are in need, or persons who know persons who know persons who are in need. We have a God who compares above us in every step of the journey. So Jesus responded to these people, but he said, this man doesn't need to be here in the middle of the village. Let's give him some privacy. He takes him by the hand with compassion, leads him outside the village. And he does something that seems sort of gross to us. He spit in his eyes. And he touched him. And then he asked the man, how you doing? Do you see anything? What do you see? And Jesus listened to see what that man needed. He realized he needed something more. He said he sees people. They look like trees walking around. We don't know why it seems like that miracle didn't happen fully right there, but we do know that Jesus stayed there with that man. Have you ever had a touch from Jesus? No, Jesus is with you. He's blessed you. He's forgiven you, but you don't feel really righteous or redeemed or faith-filled or encouraged at that point in your life. Sometimes it takes the second touch. I don't know why, but that's the way it's tailor-made for you. So for this man who didn't come on his own, but was brought by friends. But when Jesus asked, what do you see? He said, well, what I see is people walking around like trees. Evidently, this is a man who probably at some point in his life had some vision. So he knew what people look like. He knew what trees look like, but he knew what he was seeing at that particular moment. He did not have the full vision. He had not the full experience. So he told Jesus, Jesus, I need more. And Jesus laid his hands. And then his eyes were open. Vision was restored. And he saw things clearly. And then Jesus said, send him home. And said, don't go into the village. That's the word he gave. Jesus has options. He has options. And he exercised those options with that man from Bethsaida. He didn't just speak the word. Because in Jericho with Bartimaeus, he handled the whole thing differently. Now, us people, we human beings, we can hinder or help. You see this story? The people in the Bethsaida story, they helped. They brought the man, and they begged Jesus to touch. Now, Bartimaeus, outside Jericho, the people there weren't helpful. You already had a crowd of people. You had the disciples. You had a crowd of people following behind him. They heard this man, a blind beggar, beside the road, shouting, Jesus, Son of David, recognizing who he was, recognizing him as the Messiah. And what did they do? Shh. Shh. Don't disturb the Lord. Don't disturb us. We're trying to get our own. We're trying to get our own relationship. We're trying to build our own salvation. We're trying to find our own hope and freedom. We're not worried about you, blind beggar. But Jesus, the compassionate one, stops. Can you imagine? They're walking along, and all of a sudden Jesus stops, and everybody stops. And then he says, tell them to come. They say to him, cheer up! Have hope! He wants you to, he sees you. You are seen. You are heard. You are affirmed as a human being who needs help. And because he would not give up calling out to the person he believed was the deliverer, Son of God, the healer, he had a chance. Jesus heard him, and he told the people who were trying to hinder him, now he's saying, now you all are going to help him. Tell him to come. So they told him. And I'm sure they cleared a path so the blind man could get there. And I'm sure that I can imagine that they probably would, sort of got him. If he didn't quite go the right way, they sort of block him. Get him up there. Let him fall at the feet of Jesus. And Jesus say, what do you want? I think Jesus wants us to know what we want. I told this story in Burkina Faso, which is in West Africa. You all know David Godoy because he was one of your pastors preaching here for a while. David is from Brazil. Brazil is a Portuguese-speaking country. On this particular trip with DCPI, David was there, and we're visiting some missionaries who are from Brazil who are friends of David. So I'm telling the story. David takes my English version of the story and translates it into Portuguese so his friends, the missionaries, can understand it. But Burkina Faso is a French-speaking country, so those missionaries heard the Portuguese and translated it into French. And they said it in French. One of the local guys who speaks Samba heard the French and translate that into Samba. So I'm standing there telling the story and hearing this repeated. I don't know what's going on. But then when I got to the line and Jesus asked the person, what do you want? And the man said, I want to sing. Then I turned to people and say, what do you want? If Jesus would ask you, what do you want? And that's when I knew that in spite of 4 different languages, the message was getting through to the people. Because people started lining up behind the pastor who spoke Samba, telling what they wanted. Each person was giving their prayer needs in the Samba language there in Burkina Faso, in that little village where we were worshiping under a tree. And it was even raining. It even started raining that morning. But we had prayed and rain had stopped. And for about another 15 to 20 minutes, people just stood there answering the question, What do you want Jesus to do for you? What do you want Jesus to do for you? Today, Jesus is asking this question because he has options. He has options what he can do and what he's willing to do. But he's a kind, compassionate friend. He wants to hear what is it that we have? What do we need? Are you honest enough to say, I am in need of repentance? For I have sinned by this. My sins, my main is lying, is it gossiping, is it pornography, is it stealing, is it being mean? What is it? Will you own up to what your trouble is and tell Jesus, I need freedom from this? That is kind of options. Jesus can take care of you. You know, Mother Maybell, one of her favorite songs is It Is No Difference. I mean, she's so excited about what God can do. What he's done for others, he'll do for you. But you know, he won't do it the same way. I mean, I've heard people give this testimony about how when they had some financial hardship and the check came in the mail, exactly what they needed. I said, I want that kind of blessing, but that's never been the way God has answered my need. But he's always taking care of my need. He's always tailor-made my prayers for finances in a way that takes care of the needs that I had in his unique way. How about you? Do you have a way that you want to see God work in your life? Are you willing to let him work the way that he tailor makes his response for you? He focuses on what each person needs at that particular time of life. I am so excited, to be at the point of life at 72 now, to finally be a grandfather. And my parents became grandparents, Amina's parents became grandparents when they're in their 40s. I said, wow. I said, what do people need? But at this time in my life, it's exciting to be a grandparent that we really just alter our schedules. Now, yesterday, my son and his wife and his two kids who are in Denver, they had an opportunity to do some music ministry down in Ensenada. So they let us know. We're flying through there. We're flying from Denver into San Diego, and we're going to meet our ride and drive into Mexico. Can you all meet us? Do you know we reordered our whole day? She said, okay, we haven't seen our grandchildren since what Josiah was born in June when he was 3 weeks old. We got at the airport. I got to the baggage claim area before they did. It was pulling this stuff off by the time they came through. We had about 3 hours. Went down to Liberty Station and got some meat of just being with our son and daughter-in-law and our two grandchildren. Because this is the time that God has given us. At this time in our life, he's meeting that need. Because the bottom line was, why did we have children in the first place? Well, finally, after 11 years of marriage, we said, we want to be grandparents one day. I guess if we want to be grandparents, we got to have these kids. So after 11 years of being a Navy guy and she working on her doctoral degree in psychology, we finally had the kids. And thank God my kids didn't wait for 11 years. They got started quick. So now at 3 years of marriage, they got two kids already. But again, it's God tailor-making things to meet those people's needs so they can fulfill how we all have been called, and gave us those precious 3 hours yesterday. And my daughter was able to join us as well, so she got to be Auntie Dean, Auntie Maya. Each person's needs. That's what tailor-made me. God continues to bless us. What else do we get? He gives the healed person some kind of word. Now, the man in Bethsaida, he said, go home, don't even go to the village. Because that was earlier in Jesus' ministry. And he knew the commotion that would get started. You know, every time there's a healing, people get excited, so I gather around. Anyway, for timing, time is everything with God. It wasn't time yet to go full blown with all the publicity. He still has some things to prepare. He was still preparing people. But in the Jericho story of Bartimaeus, Jesus had already been telling his disciples, we're on our way to Jerusalem, and the priests and the elders are going to do this to us, and I'm going to die, but on the third day I'm going to raise up. Now it's okay to let this particular person, Bartimaeus, hang around, jump and shout, and proclaim his goodness. And that's the message that we need to carry away today. Jesus wants us today to be more like Bartimaeus, not like the man in Bethsaida. He wants us to shout, to praise, and to come along and to worship and let people know in this current day, in this time and place, this is what God is doing. This is what God has to offer. Because there are people in 2025 who still have not heard the message of Jesus, have still not accepted it. Here in the land of the free and all the technology and access and literature and things that we have, many here in America have not heard the gospel. Many persons in many parts of the world have not heard the gospel. But many who know the gospel don't share the gospel. We need to be people who are willing to share how God tailor-made the relationship that I have. It gives me strength and encouragement. And though I walk with a cane, though I have to sleep with a CPAP machine, and so I had to depend on an option, and so I had these medications take, and so I had these things in my body. I'm not perfect, but I'm redeemed. I'm forgiven. I'm loved. I am empowered. I have been given the ministry of reconciliation. I can help you and your children. I can help you and your spouse. Why? Because the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He's a healer. He's a redeemer. And I'm part of his team. Yeah, that's where we are today. And that's why we need to keep coming and refreshing ourselves and retreating and going to wow and the mow and the mo. Have some laughs at the whole celebration. Because I'm sure if Cat Damien have something to do with it, I know somehow the gospel message gets going through that cast. I don't know how they do it, but I'm just knowing them, they somehow communicate that this is God that's allowing this to happen. So I leave with you this simple message. I think Paul talks about talks about working out your own salvation, just refining that relationship uniquely to be what God has called you to be. And I'll stop right there. Leave you with that. Work out your own salvation. Jesus says it, but you work it out. Say, tell and make it to me. These are my needs. These are my sins. This is what I'm willing to repent of. This is where I'm going to change. This is what I'm going to do. These are the people that I want to bring to you. Lord, make me yours. Make me over. And may God bless you real good. What do you want for Jesus to do for you? For now unto him who is able to keep us from falling and to fill us all the dreams and the hopes and the forgiveness and the love and the power carry out his ministry of reconciliation, he says, go, make disciples, make disciples. Until I come again, I will be with you. God bless you real good.